All right, welcome back everyone to episode 138 of Coach Quip. I'm Coach Robyn, and today we are going to be talking about lessons from Edge Strong Moms, Strong Edge Moms, however you want to say it. But I mean, for real, moms kind of rock. They do it all, and they're literally the reason we're all here. We can't argue with that. This month of May, we're pretty pumped because we are going to be focusing on moms and really truly celebrating the heck out of them. We even have a Strong Mom Challenge that's launching. By the time we air this, it's probably already out there, but in case you haven't seen it yet, head to edgeathlete.me/moms. Why do the challenge? Because we love moms. In this episode, though, we are going to be turning to the experts. We are going to be turning to the best, some of the best and the greatest that we have in the Edge family to get some serious knowledge nuggets from really three of our most badass Edge members and moms. So welcome all.
Very flattered.
All right, sitting next to me over here, we've got Stephanie Lane. She is mama to Dean, 16, Helen, 14, and Hazel, 13. Mm-hmm. All teenagers.
All teenagers.
Dang, okay.
And a driver.
And a driver. On this end, we've got Meg Porter, mom of Daniela, 4, and Jordan, 2, who are just ridiculously cute. If they go missing, I have them. And last but definitely not least is in the middle next to me is Katie Tosh, mom of Bowie, who is 3, and number 2 that is about to come.
Any day now.
All right, let's get started with these questions. First up, we want to hear from each of you of what your life was like athletically before you became a mom.
I think my athletic journey was pretty typical before I became a mom. I was a part of a big gym. I went occasionally. I was a part of that crew that showed up in January when the gym was all packed and then stopped showing up around February. But I wasn't really formally working out anywhere. I tried PT for a little while, but that didn't stick and nothing really was sticking before I became a mom. So I wasn't really doing anything officially athletic.
You dabbled.
Yeah, I dabbled.
Yeah, that's good.
Dabbled.
Okay. Figured out what you were liking.
Yeah.
What about you, Katie?
Yeah, for me, primarily endurance training, running primarily. So I ran my first marathon in 2013, Chicago Marathon, met Robyn and Edge in 2016, and so ran a slew of marathons. And I'll be honest, one of my biggest hesitations towards initially becoming a mom was because I really liked my life athletically and I liked the gains that I had been accomplishing, and in my mind, I was going to have to never ever be able to go back to there. And so for a long time I really questioned am I really wanting to be a mom? Is this a role that I envisioned for myself? And then during the pandemic, when we were forced to not do anything,
Look in the mirror.
it shifted my mindset and realized, okay, yeah, this is something that I do envision for myself. And we were fortunate to be able to get pregnant. And so I have Bowie, who will be 3 in July, and now this next little one, let's do any day.
We got 1 week, if that.
Yes. Yes.
What about you?
I did high school sports that just sort of continued on through recreational and co-ed leagues with my husband. Even we did a lot of softball together.
Oh, cool.
And we played beach volleyball when we first moved to Chicago, and then I really got into running earlier on in my adulthood, and always was a member of a gym with my husband. We used to go together all the time. So to your point, it was part of our identity as a couple. Right. And when we became parents,
nice.
It was wait, now I'm going by myself, and now you're going by yourself. Yeah. But I guess a little bit of everything. Team sports, running.
I didn't know the team sports part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like it.
I can see it. I would want you on my team.
All right, next up is pregnancies. I feel like we here at Edge, we get a lot of these questions. Just a lot of curiosity about what you can and can't do, and did you do it? So did you all exercise and train during your pregnancies, or what did that phase look like?
I wouldn't say that I trained. I did continue to run. Okay. And I did continue to exercise. It sort of evolved as I got bigger and more uncomfortable and as weather was appropriate. Running outside in the snow and ice when you're pregnant is very treacherous. Mm-hmm. So I did as much as I could for as long as I could, and then when it just didn't feel good anymore, or I just started to worry too much, which is a thing, then I kind of just gave myself a break.
Yeah, then it becomes not as fun, right?
Yeah.
Not as much
Yeah.
of a release if you're worried about
Right.
it.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. So obviously being pregnant right now, I feel like my pregnancy journeys and working out during them have been extremely different. But that being said, I'm not a medical professional, and I also don't feel like anyone should ever compare like my experience and what works for me to themselves. And you need to do like A, what brings you joy, but also B, like what brings you, stress relief. So in my first pregnancy, I had an unfortunate incident where I fell off of a bike and broke my elbow right at the time that I found out I was pregnant. I was like 4 weeks pregnant. And so there was very little working out during that time. And then by the time I was able to work out again, it was very much like a run walk because I was, returning to athletic activity. But this time around, I was lucky to not have one of those freak accidents.
We don't put her on bikes anymore.
No. At least a stationary bike.
Stationary bike is okay.
But this time around, I was able to continue with running for a while, and I was feeling really good. And then somewhere along like the 28-week mark, it was very clear that it did not feel good anymore. And I was completely okay to not run anymore. I went down to run walk. I've been doing a lot of spinning, but then also strength training. I feel like that's the thing that has really like kept me going.
Yeah,
and it
constant.
feels the best. And to be honest, like the thing that postpartum I know will help me a little bit more, like when you're getting up off the ground all the time and picking up little ones. So
We have one of our coaches who's very passionate about pre and postpartum exercise related to strength. And so we actually have an intern. I think you know this. I think I've shared the document with you. We have a doc that is literally all of the exercises that are predominantly green-lit, then the coaches then refer to, especially if they know and they can look at a roster and know who's coming in, if they are in the know that someone's pregnant, that they can sub out, and then those become the alternates for the whole class, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, super helpful too, because I feel like there is so much mixed information like in the medical community. Like, one doctor will tell me like you're completely fine to do this, another doctor will say don't do that, and it's like, who do you trust, right? And so, especially in strength classes here, I've always felt like coaches are always inclusive at whatever level you're coming into. And so I'm at the point where I'm like in the back of the room, like just, basically rolling on the ground is what like movement I can do these days. So
Next to me, the old lady in class, the pregnant lady and the old lady in the back.
Regardless, like just being able to feel included in the community at whatever state you're in, I think it has been really helpful.
I think people look to you all for like major inspo though too. They're like, whoa, I need to get on it. Like, let's go. All right, next up is how has your training and racing kind of evolved and changed? This is probably a big question, right? Since becoming a mom.
Well, racing has definitely changed. I did my first half marathon this year.
Yeah.
Can't say there's going to be another one, but
Handedly,
who knows?
handedly you did it.
Yes. But what has helped me, like, after pregnancy, and Katie, you kind of touched on it too, is just, like, strength training in general. Like, I just had, it was a whole world of pelvic floor strengthening that I had to, like, navigate with. And then just, like, showing up to strength allowed me to feel like me. So that was really powerful, and still is like really powerful in like if I am having a slip in going to strength, I feel it and I need to get back to it, and then I'm a better mom and I'm a better partner, and that's it's what brings me joy.
I don't know if you remember the conversation that we had when you were like, I think I kind of want to join. And I remember exactly where I was when we talked, and you said something to me that always stuck with me. You said, I know my body is different after having two kids. Like, obviously, like, you become literally a stronger version of yourself, but I want to see what this version of my body can do. And I thought that was like, I wanted to put it on a poster, because it is so important of like, just recognizing like it's not the same, and that's totally okay. But then having the curiosity to think, well, what can I do with this iteration? And I think that's just, it's such a healthy way to think of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think for me, like, I don't know if it's so much pregnancy or maybe just like as I get older, but I am really wanting to do the things that like bring me the most joy and around the people that bring me the most joy. So, you know, if I end up training and I'm in a cycle and I end up getting a PR out of it, that's just an added bonus, but really it's the socialization and being around people that I truly enjoy. So I think for me, like mental health wise, like as you touched upon, like that's really important. And luckily I have a supportive partner, husband that understands that I'm a better person when I'm able to get out and be around my people, and he actually says that he likes me better when I do it. So he like allows me to get out and like gives me the time and watches Bowie to be able to do that. So
that is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it changes with your kids, right? Like when they're sleeping certain times of the day, when they're not sleeping, when they're sick, sometimes that affects your ability to get out and do it. And so I think just not being so locked into, I have to do X number of workouts or X number of miles per week or X number of days, or for me, it's a combination of, I'm much older now than before I had children, and it's, what does PR actually mean anymore? Like, it's not just time. Maybe it's like getting through my training cycle uninjured. Maybe it's showing up 5 days in a row. Maybe whatever it is, like PR, I think also has to change. And I think at some point too, your kid's life really has to become a priority. You have to navigate. You have to prioritize yourself. But I mean, they're only with you for so long, and I'm feeling that now. I have a kid that's going to be out the door in like less than 18 months. Like, and their sports and their things are also part of my sports and my athletics at this point, because now I've made mom friends on their teams, and we walk or run or work out when we're out of town together or those kinds of things. So it is always changing, but I think that's just normal. I mean, you get older, your body changes. What can this body do? What can my mental state do right now? It's just an evolution of where they're at and where you're at, and finding that space in between to make it happen is challenging, but that's been like the evolution, I think.
I think that's really smart to touch on that. We don't want to be so rigid though, because we've talked about this of like, if we are supposed to get together and run at 5:30 in the morning, Bowie did not sleep, or he has like a crazy rash or something's going on, like then the plan is going to change, and that's okay. Right? And I think a lot of time athletes that like strongly identify as A, B, and C type of athlete before having kids, they struggle with that a little bit, because they're like, well, that rigidity is what got me results. It's like, well, I can promise you there's a lot that amazing things that can happen not being so rigid too.
Yeah, you had to work on that with me, because I was used to being able to, you know, stick to this schedule, and to like have to deviate from it was really a struggle for me at first. But I don't know, just like leaning into the uncertainty and just being more fluid with it all has made me just a better all-around person. Like whether
fluid is a great word.
Fluid's
a great word. Yeah, because it gives you the grace to be able to like let it flow somewhere else.
Yeah, give yourself the grace for sure.
All right, so you all clearly still train and race and get out there. So like, what does currently motivate you to get out and train or race? Because you do have to carve that out, like you said, but it's like, what is when you're like in the bed and it's cozy and maybe even raining, like what motivates you to get out there?
I think for me, it's definitely that joy factor. It's mostly the time for myself, and not only the time for like my kids aren't there, but it's also the time where I get to feel like a person. Like I get to feel like me, and like my identity isn't labeled as mom or teacher or wife. I get to be Meg, and I get to be like, I get to do what I want to do and do something for me that feels good.
Yeah, I love that. That's a powerful statement, right? And there's nothing like wrong with saying that, right? That's how you become a happier person overall.
I would agree with everything Meg said. I think certainly, like I said, as kids get older and their life becomes a priority, you can very easily lose yourself. But it's stress relief and your mental health. The things that motivate me actually have not changed. Like the things that I hold myself accountable actually have not changed. It's just when I can do it, or like what the schedule looks like. But also there's an added layer, which is I love, and maybe this is a weird ego thing, but I'm kind of okay with it. I love walking in the door and my kids are wolfing down cereal and they're like, how was your run, Mom? Like they acknowledge that I've gotten up and done something. it's a joke and they're all smart asses now, but they're like, I'll come home from a race like, did you win? And they think it's hilarious.
Did you race?
But the bottom line is like they know that that's something that I find important, and that's part of who I am to them.
Yeah.
Like they see that in me, and they're all athletic in their own right and do their own sports, but I do think that motivates me too, is to remind them in a world where so many people are watching what you're doing, and there's such an easy way to get lost in satisfying other people, to do something for yourself that makes yourself feel good.
Yes.
And find yourself in all of this. And I think they don't know what that means yet, but I feel like I'm trying to build that in them.
Two thoughts on that. One is you're totally right, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. Our win runners, obviously 14 women, the ones that had parents that ran and raced, they all have very healthy relationships with running, but it's just different. Like it is, they don't hesitate before taking the time for themselves. They understand the importance of having those goals that are outside of work, even if some that are like very, very, very busy with work. They will find and prioritize that because that is what they saw their parents do. So kudos to you for realizing that and being able to identify it.
Even at 4 and 2, our kids, our 4-year-old is still like, Mama, were you at Edge? She knows exactly like where we are and everything, like Saturday mornings or like 5:30 in the morning. If she wakes up early, she's like, oh, is Mama at Edge? And it's just really cute. So it's cute.
Now I remember the second thing, and I think it was you or Jonathan.
Probably Jonathan
that said it. Like, I love bringing them to these things, which maybe it was marathon, half marathon, I'm not sure, because they think this is normal.
Yeah, they do. They think going to races is normal. They don't really like it right now. They're in a phase where they don't like it, but they think it's normal showing up to races, and they just they know how to ring a cowbell.
I think that's so awesome, normal. Though. I mean, let that be
it's
the
really
norm.
Fun. Yeah.
And that was such a great moment of like, yes.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had this normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just curious. So my husband Jason does not run, which is good for me because then on Saturdays, like, I get the time to do whatever, right? And he stays home with Bowie. But how do you guys navigate it when you guys are both runners, for example, and you're both like in a training cycle? Or is your husband a runner? Stuff? I can't remember.
He'll tell you he looks stupid, but he's.
He works out. You said like you like to work out.
Yeah, he has his own thing. Yeah.
How do you navigate it?
We're really, really lucky. My parents are in town. They moved here when we had our first. They were like, we want to be close. So that's a very lucky, and we're so blessed that they come over at 5:30 in the morning on Saturdays, and we get to show up to Run Club. And we also have Jonathan's mom who shows up as well. But other than that, it's that is the luckiest thing that we have. But other than that, I think we would have to alternate weeks or something like that. Or
that's awesome that you have that support system.
We do. Yeah, it's pretty lucky.
My favorite is when I think I'm getting one porter in class and then it switches. It's like, whoop!
Yep.
You're disappointed. Don't lie.
No, I love it. I love it. It's curveballs. I'm all about the morning chaos. Wait, how do you all navigate that?
So it's funny when you said athletically before kids, one of the things I would come home on Saturdays after long runs, I would be like, when we have kids, I still get Saturdays. I claimed it. Years ago.
Take your time, girl.
So he does Sundays, I do Saturdays.
That's great.
That's a great idea too.
Yeah,
that's a good idea too.
That's huge. I love that. Oh yeah.
It doesn't always work, but
for the most part,
it's sort of in the subconscious of the weekly family calendar that Saturday morning I'm going to try and get out.
I like that.
No,
Saturdays
really
and Sundays is a great idea.
Yeah, and then the kids know who to turn to on the alternative.
That's a good
parent.
one. It's consistent for the kids
too. All right, this one's for all of you. What tip do you have really to balance family and work demands with training stuff, right? Because it is, sometimes I think it's not so balanced, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you're training for something and there's a build phase, but what kind of tips we got?
I think we've touched on a lot of them, actually, through the other questions, but I think the definition of balance is a problem. I think a lot of people expect that it is always going to be equal all the time, every day. You're going to find balance, and it's not. I think balance has to be looked at over the course of maybe a month, maybe the year. I don't know, and you have to again, fluid, adjust. Communication, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Because we're not all in this alone. There's another adult in the room that can help us manage it. I think you just have to constantly be okay with whatever happens that week. Otherwise, you will never have balance. You'll drive yourself crazy.
Right, because then you're like anticipating things happening when they don't. You're getting frustrated. Right, I love that. Right. I think that's really smart. Manage the expectation.
Right. Yeah.
I think for me, it's having to learn how to communicate effectively with everyone that this impacts. So clearly, like my husband, and letting him know, like, listen, like this is the most important week of this training cycle or whatever. Yeah. I'm going to need you to pick up some of this slack by doing these things.
Do you tell him that?
I need to tell him.
You put it on his calendar?
Yes.
It's not how far out, it's how many times.
Yes.
Do you have to say
that too. No, I kid about this, but he's great because he knows like how important it is to me to like hit certain workouts to feel a certain way. But also too, like I think just surrendering to the fact that sometimes there are just going to be things outside of my control that even if I plan perfectly and this is what my intent is and this is what I've communicated, some X factor is going to come out and someone's going to get sick or whatever happens, and just let it go.
Yeah.
And just trust the overall process instead of like what you're saying, instead of like looking at it day by day, look at large holistically.
Mm-hmm. What you just touched on with communication is the most important in our partnership, and it's really helped us over the years to figure out like even what kind of language to use. Like if this workout is a priority, then that workout is not really flexible, but Tuesday's workout is definitely flexible. And also like the way that I advocate for myself has changed over the years. I used to be like, is it okay if I go to class on Tuesday? And Jonathan was like, just ask me to go to class on Tuesday. Like you need your goals too. Even if I'm training for, a big triathlon, you have your goals too. And neither one of them is more important than the other one. Yeah. So I realizing that, it changed my language. And I was like, hey, I want to go to class tomorrow. Is that cool with your schedule? Is there anything that conflicts with that? So I think just working on that communication is helping with all of the balance of it all.
I have a tip. I'm not a mom. But as a coach, I definitely see, you all have touched on this, our moms that have more or less support is pretty different. And I think sometimes when we try to hold on to all of it and do it all ourselves, it is at the cost of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Our athletes who, for no fault of their own, really try to be the sole provider all the time. They tend to take longer to come back into sport, and I will say they tend to get pretty beat up mentally too. Mm-hmm. Our moms that have the ability to have family, or maybe there's a sitter that comes over on Saturday so you can get your run in, whatever that carve out is, so that you can anticipate it and know that most likely, unless there's a curveball, right, you can have that hope to be able to get something in for yourself. It is incredibly important for moms and dads, not mm-hmm. just for moms, for any parent, just to get that little bit of breathing room where you can feel like yourself and do something for yourself. It's night and day when we look at athletes that have that versus don't. Mm-hmm. So I'm fortunate, and you all, I feel like, have nailed that, so thank you. Last question is all about inspo, right? So we know there's a lot out there on the interwebs, in person, in our community. So who do you get your mom inspo from? Who do you follow? Who do you look to?
Yeah, my most recent one that I have really been loving is Stephanie Bruce. So a little bit about her. She just had her third baby, a girl this time. And I think what I like about her the best is she's very real. And the accounts that I gravitate towards, or that I feel like I resonate with most, are not the people that are bringing like the curated, like mm-hmm. everything is great, but like rather like these are the struggles I'm going through, but this is how I'm shifting my mindset. It's okay to feel this. I know this is temporary, that kind of stuff. And so she's been really good, and she's even created like a separate kind of postpartum journey account that I think has been really great.
Do you remember?
I don't. I'll have to.
We can put it in the show notes.
You. Yep. Yeah. And then when I broke my elbow with pregnancy with Bowie, I purchased a Peloton. But Robyn Arzón is another one that I feel like I look up to as a mom.
You like her book a lot too.
Yeah. And at the time, I remember when I was postpartum and I was having a lot of mental health struggles because I had postpartum depression. A lot of what I would focus on was like, I gave up a lot of who I was athletically to be a mom, and I'm never going to be able to get back there. But she said something one time during a class that's always resonated with me, and it was like, you're not who you are before. It's not who you were before. You're leveled up now. It's different. And so I always like approach it like that, like a game now.
Yeah,
like, I've reached like my next level. Like, I'm more badass now. Like, things are way harder now, and so whatever I can do, like, it's just great. So,
have you ever written her and told her that?
No, but I should.
Yeah. You bring up a really great point that we will tell people when they're getting in the ice bath for the first time. I don't know if any of you know this, but it is insane when our moms get in the ice bath, especially if I don't know them very well and I don't know this athlete very well. If a woman gets in the ice bath and just sits the F down, I know I can cuss now, but I'm censoring myself, and just the voice doesn't change. They just keep talking. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll have some coffee. Oh, what's your pug's name? I literally will say to them, how many kids do you have? And I'm always right. Yeah. There's something that happens with that second X chromosome that I am so in awe of, because it is insane. And now you know, and you will see it happen in the ice bath. Our moms get in and they're cool, warm as a cucumber. I mean, like, literally unfazed, because y'all are badasses. What about you, Meg?
This is a pretty good transition because I'm kind of sitting next to someone who has inspired me here at Edge. I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking about like when I first started going to Edge regularly, and there was a handful of people that stuck out in my head. One of them being Katie Tosh.
Oh, so kind.
And like I remember Jonathan coming home and just talking about this place, and he was saying that you qualified for Boston before Bowie and then went and ran Boston after Bowie.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that is insane and so cool. Like, and I don't know, like, if you hit any goals or whatever, or didn't hit any goals or whatever. I don't know that journey for you, but just the fact that you like did that, had a baby, and then went back and like conquered Boston was just so cool to me.
No, that means a lot.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then just like walking around Edge in general, I'm just super inspired by everybody here. So I just always feel like, am I athletic enough to be here? And that's, I know the answer is yes, but that has been a journey that, like, dealing with postpartum thoughts, it's been, you know, something that I have to instill in myself and say, yes, I do deserve to be here. I am an athlete again. And so that's been really powerful.
And I will always go back to, if you step in our space, true fact, I actually hate our name. I came up with it. I hate it a little bit because the word athlete, and people hesitate coming in because they don't think I'm in the right phase, or maybe they don't identify that way. But it's meant to be, if you enter, you are an athlete.
Yeah.
If you walk through the door, you're an athlete. If you have a body, you are an athlete. And every athlete is the same upon entering. And we have to just constantly kind of remind everyone of that, and then maybe potentially change our name at some point in the future. Not really, but you get the idea. So absolutely, yeah. And our athletes that have aspirations of becoming a parent, I will say this very sincerely, they all look to you of like, I can do it, right? All of your hesitations, you are helping someone else maybe process that faster, or process it with more, kind of sound of mind, because they see, oh my goodness, I can go all the way through. Not that it's easy, but that it can be done, and it can be done well, and I can feel strong AF while doing it. And that is, you should give yourselves a round of applause, because you are definitely the ones that people look to. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here. We've gotten through all the questions. I want to thank everyone so much for being on. This was an idea that Chris and I had, knowing what we have coming up for Mother's Day, and we were so excited. We came up with 3 people right away. You were our 3 to start, and you all said yes. And then we also now got in person, and I'm just so happy about it. You all know that I teased it at the beginning about the Strong Mom Challenge. So what that's going to entail, it's all good things. First of all, we're going to celebrate our moms. We're going to have our Edge members nominating each other so that we can give all of the flowers. I'm giving air quotes for people not on YouTube, but just giving shout outs and accolades, because you all frankly deserve them all month long, so why the heck not? And then the challenge itself is going to be basically a challenge to complete 10 workouts in 30 days. They can be in person, Zoom, on demand. We're going to make it really nice and easy and flexible. Edge members can jump in. Non-Edge members, we got to wait for you to get in with a big old discount, because we want to say thank you, and like, thanks for creating life and doing so much good in the world. And then ultimately we want to connect everyone together. So we're going to be having a special mom chat, which I am totally going to be in and just absorb all the goodness. So, true facts. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being on. And if you see them in real life, tell them what a badass they are. Till next time.
Thanks for listening to Coach Quip. Original music performed by Ment. Follow us online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Edge Athlete Lounge. Our podcast lives in the blog section of our website. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and you can check out the show notes for additional ways to contact us. Ready, set, onward we go.